I'm the bad guy for refusing to pay for my boyfriend's food after he ruined my food photos. I have an Instagram account dedicated to photos and short videos of food from local restaurants in my city. I don't turn meals in a whole photoshoot production when I go out, but I like to snap a few photos of everything as it comes out. I've got about 1,000 followers, and just a hobby for me, but I have made friends with some other bloggers, and we like to go out and get pics together and try new restaurants. I prefer doing this with my foodie girls because my boyfriend hates it and will go out of his way to take a big bite of food or mess up his plate with his fork because I can snap any pics. And he rolls his eyes when I take pics of my own food, so I pretty much stop bothering when we go out together. Money has been tight lately because of some medical bills, so I haven't been able to go out to eat with my foodie girls, and the infrequent date with my boyfriend is the only chance I get to eat out. I had to sit him down and have a look, just let me enjoy things conversation with him and told him I was gonna take pics of my own food when we went out and could he please just not be immature about it. And since we alternate who pays for dates, I told him I will appreciate if he could spare the 30 seconds for me to snap a pic of the appetizer plus his meal on nights that I was paying. And I got a short of half-hearted do whatever you want confirmation. Sunday was my turn to pay, and he let me take a pic of the appetizer with minimal fussing. But then when the entries came out, I went to snap a pic of his, and he messed it up with his fork. Then he reached over and stirred up my pasta to also ruin the photo of my own meal. I was so pissed off by that I refused to pay his half at the end of the meal, which pissed him off because he said he wouldn't have ordered a cocktail if he knew that I was gonna skip my turn. He says I owe him one because I don't get to just decide not to pay according to our agreement after we've already ordered. So, am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for telling my sister-in-law I will disown her if she gets pregnant? I live with my brother and his new wife. Things have been fine to a point, and I definitely appreciate them taking me in during my time of need. That is not lost on me. I recognize they did not have to help me, and I am incredibly thankful that they have done that. But my sister-in-law has baby fever, and she's talking about trying to get pregnant. First of all, I know my brother had the snap after his divorce from his first wife. He will have to have the procedure reversed and his insurance will not cover it. And to be frank, they cannot afford that. But why they allowed me to move in is because they're in financial trouble. And I'm contributing quite a lot of money to bills right now. I cover probably 2 or 3 of all the bills because my sister-in-law doesn't work and my brother pays an ungodly amount of child support to his ex-wife. The financial issues can go ahead and be other point in the situation. My sister-in-law also can barely take care of herself. She sleeps most of the day, she does not clean, she does not cook, she doesn't take care of the child she already has. Her daughter is 6 years old and she doesn't even interact with her unless she has to. That is totally separate issue. I have become a live-in maid and nanny on top of working 45 or more hours a week. My sister-in-law lost custody of her other child about 2 years ago. He's 11 and living with family. I do not know why she even lost custody, but she says he was abused. She did not fight to get him back. 2 days ago, my brother told me he has an appointment to meet with his doc to discuss the reversal so him and sister-in-law can try for a baby. I told them they were out of their minds. It got explosive, and I finally asked who was going to take care of the baby when my brother works full-time. I also work full-time, and she constantly makes excuses to not even do basic stuff around the house, like take the dog outside. She really had the nerve to tell me, I thought you can handle them when you get off work before brother gets home, so the load is evenly distributed. And I blow up. I'll tell her I'm not going to be a parent to another one of her kids. And if they really do this, then I'm totally done. And they're on their own. I told my brother I will always love him and help him if he needs me, but that I will never talk to sister-in-law and make sure the rest of the family disowns her too. I think I was probably the bad guy for saying that the way I did. She started crying and locked herself in a bedroom. My brother is threatening to kick me out, and again I might be the bad guy for this. I told him he can't afford to kick me out, and he can't afford a replacement of nanny like I have been. I told her mom about what happened, and she not only thinks I'm a bad guy, but it's now I'm mad at my brother. Our dad, however, said I'm a bad guy because it isn't my place to say anything about my brother's decision. So, am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for refusing to help my wife and her friend anymore over what my wife calls a miscommunication? My wife Emily has a longtime friend, Lacey, has recently become a single mother. Leslie does not have a working vehicle at the moment and is working 2 jobs, so Emily took it upon herself to help Lacey out as much as she can. Emily had started asking me to help as well in driving Leslie and her kids around, taking them to school appointments, taking Leslie to the grocery store, etc., whenever Emily or someone else couldn't. I agreed since it made my wife happy, and I understand the kind of situation Leslie is in. Helping has turned into Emily inviting Leslie and her kids over often, or organizing trips that they would like, such as camping or fishing. A few times my wife was unable to attend these get-togethers she organized due to work and insisted they still take place, leaving me to entertain Lacey and her kids on my own. Since I've known of Leslie my entire relationship with my wife, I didn't think too much about this. The times that it has been me left with her, or sent in Emily's stead to shuttle Leslie around, I've made normal small talk with her and her kids. Recently, Leslie's kids were going to be away for a weekend, so Emily wanted to have Leslie over for dinner and some movies. She asked me to text Leslie to tell her over, and when I did, Leslie replied with, "Just as friend, right? I'm not interested in being anyone's girlfriend." I thought that response was out of the left field, so I asked her why she'd ever say that, and her response was pretty much, "No guy will be asking me and my kids how we're going or helping me out unless he wanted something in return." I told Leslie it wasn't anything like that, and that showed my wife the conversation and informed her I will be stepping back from helping her with anything involving Leslie and to leave me out of any future plans. I also offered to show her the rest of my phone and anything else. Emily believed me, but she still talked to Leslie about it. To see what had given her that impression, she gave Emily the same answer. A few days ago, Leslie apologized to Emily and told her that her emotions and mine were just a lower because of a down day. That's fine, but I'm still not willing to help her or my wife out anymore, as I had been, because I don't want any repeats of occasions hurled at me when I was helping, as my wife asked. Emily thinks I'm overreacting, and she'll just brush it off because it was just a silly miscommunication she had on a bad day. So, am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for taking my revoking my daughter's driving privileges after finding out she's using 2 feet? My daughter is in the process of navigating the roads as a new driver. She began studying for and got her permit when she was 15 and had since been receiving driving lessons from my ex-husband. She passed her driving test, written and physical portion, and is an outstanding student. So my ex and I decided to give her a car as her 16th birthday gift after receiving her license. Growing up, my dad was the one who taught me and my siblings how to ride a bike and later how to drive. It is a fond memory I have of him. So I decided to let her father handle the driving lessons, teaching business, so they could have that as well. Apparently, during these lessons, my daughter started off by using both of her feet. Right foot for the gas, left for the brake. She continued to drive this way for a while, even passing her test this way. Apparently, when my ex-husband found out about this, he brought it up to her and asked her to correct it, but she argued that she has been driving this way since she started and that reverting to the normal way will be potentially dangerous, and that she's uncomfortable doing so. So my ex-husband just dropped it. I, however, was extremely concerned when I found this out. Why, I heard that during casual convo. I asked him if he thought this was inappropriate, and he said he saw nothing wrong and that she was a good driver. I disagreed and told him that was unsafe and that I would be having a chat with our daughter once she arrived home from school. She did, asked her to sit down and tried to explain to her the danger of what she's doing. Wear and tear on the brakes, potentially pressing the wrong pedal in a split-second emergency situation, not to mention the higher chance of having you foot on the brake the entire time, which is not only annoying to the drivers, with them not being able to know whether you're actually braking or not, and again, dangerous. I asked her to please take those points into consideration and change her method of driving, to which she argued the only real danger will be forcing her to switch to using only one foot for both pedals after driving for this way for so long. I told her she has only been driving for about a year, more or less, and the same way she learned with two, she could learn with one, to which she flat out refused. After our conversation and her refusal, I took her keys and told her I will not be taking her to school from now, and whatever else need be. She was upset and called her dad, who called me to tell me I'm a bad guy and being controlling. He reminded me that her driving record is fine, that way she's driving thus far, but it's only been a year, and that she will resent me for this. So am I the bad guy here? I don't want to come off as a controlling, and I definitely don't want my daughter to resent me over this. I'm genuinely concerned for her safety over this, and I'm not sure what to do now, so... Am I the bad guy for telling my mom I was upset she missed my graduation because my sister had a baby? My sister just had her first baby on Sunday morning at 2:30 a.m. I was thankfully a smooth delivery, and she and my nephew are happy and healthy. My mom, my dad, me, my sister's husband, and my sister's mother-in-law were all at the hospital, per my sister's request, from around midnight on Sunday and the remainder of the day. Well, my graduation from grad school was on Sunday as well at 4 p.m. At around 2 p.m., me and my parents went down to grab lunch from the cafeteria, and I realized the time. Asked my parents if they wanted to just meet me at the graduation because I need to go home and get ready first. My mom looked at me funny and said, "You can really expect me to leave your sister and my grandbaby right now?" I didn't know what to say, but my dad just told me to go get ready and they will meet me there. So I went to graduation, and afterwards I looked for my family, and sure enough my mom did not come. My dad did, but I was upset because I won an award from my program director and gave a speech in which I thanked her specifically, and she missed the whole thing. I got back to the hospital and didn't really talk to my mom because I didn't want to make a scene or stress out my sister. Last night my mom called me and I expressed to her how hurt I was. And she said I'm being selfish and needed to realize my sister just gave birth, and that's more important even though she's proud of me. I ended up hanging up. I guess my thought process is that at the point where it was time to leave, the baby had been born for 12 hours, and we spent most of that time with the baby, my sister, when they were awake. And I'm glad we did, not complaining. My plan was just to go to graduation and pick up my sister's favorite pizza, she was craving it, on the way back, and eat with her. My dad and I did just that, and in total my father was away from the hospital for right around 3 hours. I understand that giving birth is a huge deal, and I'm so proud of my sister. I don't mean to act like my graduation was more important. I just feel like there wasn't a need to choose. And my mother could have done both because my dad did. My sister had her husband and mother-in-law that will have to. My dad agrees with me that my mom should have come, and my sister apologized for stealing the spotlight, to which I told her she has absolutely nothing to be sorry for, and to focus on herself and the baby, and everything with me and mom will work itself out. I think my mom told my sister, which makes me more angry because she doesn't need to worry about this. It's our issue. And I was to address a couple of things, answer some questions. My sister was totally okay with my parents leaving for a few hours. According to my dad, he told me while we were picking up the pizza that my sister told my mom it was fine and to go. I haven't talked to my sister about it because she shouldn't even be thinking about this right now. She has enough on her plate. I understand some people think radiation are stupid or maybe even childish. If I had just been walking across the state for a few seconds and that was it, this wasn't really bothering me. I was given an award and gave a speech in which I recognized my parents, but mainly my mom, because I'm following in her footsteps and entering the same field she's in. It was special to me for her that to hear me acknowledge her and to see me do that. Maybe that's still stupid to some, but it wasn't to me. Lastly, I don't know about any drama between mother-in-law and our mom. I know a husband thinks my mom is nosy, and he might have relayed that to mother-in-law and it might be a thing. But mother-in-law lives far away and she doesn't come to gatherings or anything that often. I think the last time my mom had a meaningful interaction with her was at my sister's wedding 2 years ago. So, am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for refusing to use my brother's name, Abba? About my brother. My younger brother is a self-centered bigot. He's always been a jerk, despite having awesome parents. Now he's 34, but the type who cannot hold down a job. He's blown every chance he's had, and mostly family are done trying to help him. He gets fired from most places he works because he's a misogynist who cracks cross jokes about women and makes nasty racial comments. He referred to my neighbor's kids as niglets, as our might guess, my neighbors are black. And other neighbors have a pride flag, which he calls the Fiji flag. My wife and I are unfortunate enough that he lives down the street from us. Our uncle left him his house when he died, since they had the same attitude. He will wander by and pester us when we're in the yard. I have called the cops on him twice for trespassing, which has only resulted in them walking him down the street to his house. Because my brother is how he is. I refuse to use his name under my circumstances. The only time I would is if I were required to make a legal statement. If I refer to him by anything that my brother, it's by an insult. Whatever comes to mind at the moment, to his face I've called him failure, useless, a reason to be pro-choice, freeloader, and a whole bunch of names that center around profanity. He's getting fired regularly. And that he hasn't had a girlfriend in 8 years. My wife hates him too, but doesn't really join in on the petty name calling. The other day, he came by asking to borrow money for groceries. I laughed in his face, said not my problem, failure. Go eat out of the dumpster behind McDonald's if you want food, and close the door. Not. His way of asking was, hey, I'm out of money, give me some cash for groceries. My sister-in-law was over and was horrified. She tore into me, not listening to what my wife or I said about how he acts. She took the "he's your brother" line and actually ran after him to hand him cash. I also got an earful from her husband, who had offered to go on a beer run for dinner that night. Something, he's my brother, I'm bound my blood to at least make sure he eats. So I'm giving some pause on it. I treat my brother with open, blatant contempt, and have for years because he's a hateful bigot. I've never considered him to be worth helping because he seems to be determined to never take responsibility and never tries to be a better person. So, I'm not the bad guy for being this way with him.